Welcome to Starfish Astrology. Because I can't ever stay focused on one thing for too long, I'm going to move on to Mercury, and I'll make my way back to Sun and Moon signs. I'll go back and forth for a while. So I'm going to start with Mercury and Aries, because that would be the first sign that we tend to start with. And Mercury was just in retrograde in Aries, and it went direct, and now it's moving into Taurus. But in any case, if you have natal Mercury in Aries, and this would only really apply to a solar Pisces, Aries, or Taurus because of Mercury's relationship between the Sun and Earth. It can only be in the same sign as the Sun or the sign prior or after. So when you have Mercury in Aries, it's like thinking through doing. Aries being your masculine fire cardinal sign, very direct, an output of energy more than a receiving of energy. Cardinal means a catalyst, starting things, not always finishing. And fire, of course, being the transformative energy. So when one has Mercury in Aries, there is a desire that is very strong to make thoughts into actions and thoughts into deeds, and all of the dreams and the imagination to come out into actual livable scenarios in life. I've read a few times that those with Mercury in Aries, particularly if it's well placed and strong in the chart, that there's a tendency to even become a bit mentally unrested and perhaps develop a bit of OCD when the thoughts and the dreams of the Mercury in Aries stay in the head and they never get a chance to manifest. And that can be a really tough thing to deal with, particularly in a world where we're often told that it's not worth doing, it's not worth enacting unless there's some sort of immediate material benefit. Like when I was applying to college so many decades ago, the thought was, well, this industry is going to be big, so you should really major in one of these majors in order to make money. It wasn't, you're a really good writer, you should major in creative writing, or, just taking that into the context of me at the time. It was very rarely, major in what you love to do and maybe minor in something that has some more of a monetary application to it. So, and I grew up in, with people around me that were more about, well, do what makes you the most money. And now I've come to the conclusion that you can make plenty of money doing what you love. If you love what you do, people will want your service or your product, and you will be prolific, and you will have a special talent in it because you will be very practiced in it. And so if you are Mercury in Aries and your tendency is to leave things up in your head and never really follow your dreams or push towards a hobby or a place to travel or people to meet because it's not practical in some way, then you need to stop and make that happen, probably more so than the average Mercury sign. Because Mercury in Aries gets a lot of ideas. Aries is very quick, it's very prolific, it's sort of knee-jerk, and so there will be a lot of ideas and thoughts and things that you may have a mental interest in. So you may start a lot of things and not finish. So the idea is, start things, have little expectation, but then eventually over time start finding things that you can really specialize in and become more educated or practiced or steeped in. So it's okay to start a lot of things and not finish all of them, but over time there needs to be some level of commitment, and Aries can be very quick to throw the baby out with the bathwater. So the idea would be, again, let's look to the sun sign and see how the sun sign can assist us. So if you are Pisces with Mercury and Aries, like myself, there's a dreamy quality anyways to the Pisces ego, Pisces sun, not always wanting to face reality, or reality being a bit of a burden and an energetic siphon a lot of the time. And so Mercury in Aries gives the sun in Pisces a little bit more get up and go, a quicker mind, a more pliable mind in some ways, the ability to grasp concepts quickly, the ability to have their hands and mental curiosity in a variety of subjects, and it can help them start things. Of course, there's not a lot of finishing power in just Aries alone, and Pisces in general doesn't always have a linear way of moving. It is a water sign. And so the Mercury in Aries can help give a little bit more chutzpah to the mental workings, even to the communicative workings, depending on where Mercury is on the chart. And if you're, let's say, at the tail end of Pisces, like I'm 29 degrees Pisces and 6 degrees Mercury in Aries, and so there's a conjunction there, not in the same sign, but the energies of the two bodies are a little bit more in harmony. And of course, with being at the last, the critical degree of Pisces, there's that desire to usher in that new energy, a more Aries version of Pisces. And so the Mercury in Aries helps to usher that in. Now, if you're in Aries with Mercury in Aries, then it could be that there's just so much going on mentally, and so much going on in your power centers, into your confidence centers, that the inability to stick with one thing for a long period of time can really diminish your confidence. And so being able to pick one or two things that you can stick with, that you enjoy, and then have a few other things that are constantly changing in the background, would be just a better boost overall to your true will, to your vitality, because it's easy for an Aries in general to burn out, let alone with Mercury in Aries. The tendency would be to just keep oneself so busy, and having their mind hooked into multiple different subjects and multiple different hobbies or projects or fields of study, that although they can grasp the information quickly, it leaves with the same speed. So being able to pare down and know when to mentally rest, when it's time to take a walk in the woods, when you have extra time, you don't always have to be filling your mind with information or stimulation from games or screens or Facebook, that the ability to allow the fire in you to just sort of burn at a nice gentle pace, and maybe even go out once in a while, and going out with control over it, rather than it's going out because you have literally run out of physical and mental energy. Sun in Taurus, Mercury in Aries. Now there's a little bit more stability there, and the Sun in Taurus is thought to be, of course, the power centers of the bull, of the earth sign, of the feminine sign, is to be productive and to provide for themselves and others. There's a very sensualness about the Sun in Taurus. They like things to be concrete, and so when Mercury in Aries wants to turn thoughts into actions, Sun in Taurus wants to turn thoughts into actions, into things, or thoughts into things. So the ability to manifest the dreams and the desires and the mental calculations of Mercury in Aries can find in an earth sign more tangible results, which can be really useful. And as much as Taurus and Aries are two signs with sort of like just the qualities are not fully compatible. If you're at the tail end of Mercury in Aries and at the beginning of Sun in Taurus, within a few degrees, then Sun in Taurus coming in at 0, 1, 2, 3 degrees is coming in from a more Aries perspective with a little bit more energy, a little bit more fire underneath them. And so that Mercury in Aries can really help them to catalyze themselves, because the Sun in Taurus in general, confidence-wise, vitality-wise, can be rather slow, lack a bit of energy, and can be hard to start and equally hard to stop. So there can be staying power. That Sun in Taurus can give the Mercury in Aries a nice foothold to finish projects and to see things through to the end, right? So in general, Mercury in Aries, among the signs, among the 3 signs that it can be in, the sun signs, for sure gives a really nice blunt aspect to the personality. Nice and blunt don't always go together, but I think being blunt and just saying what's on one's mind is underrated. They can clear the ear very nicely. They can enjoy a good debate, but Mercury in Aries, depending on what's going on in the chart, may debate just for the sake of creating some friction and some fire. Conversely, if there's balance in the chart, they enjoy debate because it just stimulates them and gives them something to bounce their ideas off of. Mercury in Aries doesn't always love being wrong and might sometimes fight a little bit tooth or nail to be right, but overall it would rather relent and to admit wrongdoing, or to at least agree to disagree. Then they would be less likely to hold on to something and hold somebody else's beliefs against them. And then lastly, Mercury in Aries, we talked about being quick thinking. We talked about having their hands in a lot but not finishing a lot. However, I find that most Mercury in Aries people that I know, and this including myself I suppose, tend to be extremely open to multiple points of view and are able to assimilate multiple points of view and create their own sort of viewpoint and their own way of communicating. And while they may at first come up with very snap judgments about people's places and situations, because that's what a cardinal fire sign would do, through that snap judgment will almost always come out a much broader perspective from that. So they don't really stay in that initial first impression, but their first impressions can be very strong. So if you're communicating with a Mercury in Aries, or somebody with Mercury in the first house, or a Sun in Aries that's very strong in the chart, you may talk to them and think, wow, they have some really strong opinions, and but don't take that at face value. There is a much stronger tendency for them to open up after that initial opinion, and their ability to change their ideas about things, especially in like a Pisces or Sun Aries, is much broader. And although they have the mind of the Fool, sometimes the Aries is compared to the Fool in the tarot cards, or considered to be like the child of the zodiac. Their ability to mature and to change and to transform as the fire element is definitely there. There's a great capacity for maturity and change. And they love to have a good conversation, and they don't always love to agree. And that's a good thing, right? And of course, for people that don't always love to agree, they may be very short-tempered, or they might come across as very irritable. Mercury in Aries is not known for patience. Most fire signs are not known for patience. Probably Aries and Sagittarius in particular. So these Mercury and Aries types might pick a really ridiculous fight for like 2 seconds and then forget about it, because fire signs will fight and forget. There's generally not a lot of holding on to grudges here. the Aries personality in general just doesn't have time for grudges. And unless, the Taurus personality or the Pisces personality may hold on to past hurts in their own way. And some of this has to do with the moon sign, because moon is more about feelings. But with Mercury, if it's just something that kind of pisses them off for a little bit, they'll get over it fairly quickly. The main types of things that Mercury in Aries would be more impatient about would be other people's assimilation of information or their dissemination of it, and just in general always wishing for things to happen faster or for other people to understand them faster. Or it's generally going to have to do more with just how information is assimilated in communication. Feelings are going to have to do more with the moon sign. So we're just talking about, day-to-day speaking, talking, seeing how other people interact, and not having a lot of time for fluff. Mercury and Aries they're not going to love the small talk. They might be able to be pretty good at it, but they're not going to love it. They're not going to go for it. And unless there's other things in the personality that point to it, they're not going to be ones for gossip, and in fact might be the one person that's the voice of dissent when somebody else is being ganged up on behind their back. They don't love duplicity, mental duplicity, communicative duplicity. It's not their thing, and they have no problem calling it out when it does happen. All right, we're going to end this now. This is the short version of Mercury in Aries. I hope you enjoyed. Mercury in Taurus will be next, whenever that might be. See you later.